Yo, what's up? What's going on? What's good, y'all? That's right, it's the Boxing Sword Chicken in here. And you know what? I haven't really gotten into this, but since it's coming up over the weekend, we're going to get into it. Yeah, Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. Yeah, that's right. This fight is going to be taking place February 26th in Saudi Arabia. And, this is where, people are talking about for Jake Paul. This is a quote unquote real fight against a boxer in Tommy Fury, who, yes, is undefeated, and has, four of his wins by way of knockout. He's 8-0 with 4 wins by way of knockout. And, yep, Jake Paul is 6-0 currently with 4 of those wins by way of knockout. And yes, all of those particular fights had been particularly sanctioned by way of, whoever the sanctioning body was against all of those fighters that Jake Paul, fought, including Ben Askren. Of course, he had those fights with Tyron Woodley with that knockout victory that took place in Tampa some time back as well. Now, Tommy Fury is from the UK and had a number of his fights in the UK. And if you look at his resume, if you're familiar with how a number of UK fighters start their careers, a number of them get or collect a lot of wins against guys that have a good number of losses on their record. And Tommy Fury does have at least one win against a fighter that has over 100 losses. That's right, over 100 losses in his professional career. Now, to even go further, right, with Tommy Fury, 3 of the fights that he won were against guys that didn't have any wins. Either they, had been in their second or third professional fight, or maybe their 5th professional fight, or whatever it was, but they had not won one professional fight, up to the point that Tommy Fury had faced them. Tommy Fury did have his last fight against Daniel Bosianski, who was 10-1, lost his previous fight before facing Tommy Fury, and I guess that kind of like says that maybe he's a little bit more of a fighter than people may say. Of course, he's been part of reality shows over in the UK or whatnot, and that people don't think that he is a quote unquote full-time boxer. But he, like I said, he is undefeated. Does have 4 wins by way of knockout or stoppage here going up against Jake Paul. Jake Paul, of course, has MVP Promotions that has, orchestrated fights, over the course of the past few years or so. Does have notable Amanda Serrano under contract that has been part of big fights over the recent few months or so. Of course, last year you had that fight against Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. So that kind of was a fairly successful event there for Jake Paul. But now him going into the ring here over in Saudi Arabia against Tommy Fury, for some, they feel like there's a lot on the line in reference to this particular fight, whether it's him having his first professional loss potentially, or for Tommy Fury, look like the Fury family wouldn't necessarily be too happy if he lost a fight to Jake Paul. And once again, this fight is going to be at Diriyah Arena in Diriyah, Saudi Arabia. And, while this fight does have 2 fighters that have, what I would say, not very lofty records in the professional ranks, it seems like a number of organizations, are trying to get involved with this particular fight. There was some mentioning of the WBC trying to get involved with it, the World Boxing Council, and there were stories about potentially having Jake Paul entered in the rankings for the WBC if he does score a win over Tommy Fury in this particular bout coming up in Saudi Arabia. That's a whole nother story within itself that we won't necessarily venture into. But the thing about it is that, hey, I wanted to just, talk about this particular event of sorts. Yes, it's a fight. Yes, it's a pro fight against 2 undefeated fighters. And we'll see what happens with this particular bout. But we will have more stories coming on here through the Boxing Source. You'll be sure to subscribe if you haven't done so already. We really appreciate it. And we also do have the weekly podcast that is live on YouTube Sundays, scheduled for 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. So if you can check that out live, we would really appreciate that as well. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.